On a stunning report by the Wall Street Journal reveals that President Obama secretly sent a letter to Iran's supreme leader last month. In it, the president reportedly highlighted both countries' mutual interest in destroying ISIS. The administration has repeatedly denied there'd be any military coordination with Iran in the campaign against ISIS, and today went on the defensive.
With respect to potential presidential correspondence, I think you know that I'm not going to comment on any private communication between the president and any world leader. But I will say this. First of all, as I've said repeatedly in public, and others have too, we are in no way engaged in any coordination, military coordination with Iran on countering ISIL.
No way. None whatsoever. Joining me now to analyze, Carrie Sheffield, who writes about foreign policy, and former United Nations Political Affairs Officer Ashley Jackson. Let me start with you, Ashley. You say it's okay for the president to write this letter? Because I'm wondering, really, with Iran, I mean, one of our greatest foes, one of our biggest threats to American safety, security, sovereignty, write him a secret letter?
Well, apparently what the letter said was basically the U.S. and Iran have a shared interest in defeating ISIS. The U.S. has been supporting the Iraqi government just like Iran has been supporting the Iraqi government to defeat ISIS. And it didn't really say anything new. It sort of dangled a carrot ahead of these nuclear talks.
So why do it?
Because we have a shared interest with Iran.
Say that again. You just said something important at the end of your comment. Dangle the carrot, what?
Ahead of this deadline on November 24th.
Talk about that.
For a nuclear deal with Iran. And this is what this is about. This is the really important thing. The administration and others have been working for a long time to get this deal in place.
I'm glad you said that, because when you listen to Susan Rice and you heard Josh Earnest earlier today saying, no, this is all about just making sure we have a shared interest in defeating ISIS.
Yeah.
Carrie, the problem is that I agree with Ashley that this is all about a nuclear deal with Iran, of which many Americans don't want.
Well, it's both. It's taking the teeth out of the nuclear deal. This letter went around the back of our allies. Israel is pissed off. UAE is very upset about this. Saudi Arabia. They were not informed of this letter that is going to take the teeth out of the nuclear deal. And the other thing is, the supreme leader who this letter was addressed to, less than a month ago, publicly accused America of deliberately creating ISIS in order to justify our presence in the region. So can you imagine that sort of person who would publicly accuse us of that to turn around and then try to work with us?
I can't imagine even being at the table with Iran regarding nuclear, let alone writing them a letter saying we have a common interest.
It's not that simple. While the Supreme Leader didn't, of course, make that very provocative statement that ISIS was a U.S.-funded conspiracy, the President Rouhani in late September was, supportive of U.S. military action in Iraq, which is really unheard of. So Iran's government is not homogenous, and we need to work with more progressive parts of that government if we can.
Rouhani is the puppet. He is the face. He makes the West feel good about themselves. But the real leader is the Supreme Leader and the Ayatollah. I mean, this is a joke.
Ahmadinejad was never the leader of Iran. It's always been the Supreme Leader.
And this is the third letter that was sent by the Obama administration to this leader. Guess what? He ignored the other two letters. What makes us think this would be any different?
So clearly the Iranians want a nuclear deal, right? They want to get this done, right?
Well, the conditions are still being negotiated, and it's incredibly fragile. So we don't know what's going to happen. If there is no deal, there'll be a backlash both in Iran and the U.S., among the other...
What do we get out of this deal?
Global security. We get a step forward.
Global security? We're arming a nuclear Iran? That's global security? I would call that global insecurity.
Absolutely. And the administration is dealing with a regime that is Islamist and violent, rather than dealing with the people of Iran. In 2009, there was the Iranian Revolution, and the Obama administration backed down and did not support the people, and they prefer to deal with the regime.
Realistically, though, this is also, again, bring it back to ISIS, about the content of these letters. We have no allies willing to step up in the fight.
You yourself just said it wasn't about ISIS. You just said it was about this nuclear deal.
There's no one else. I mean, that is part of it, but it is also about getting...
What about...
Are they pushing back ISIS? Look at what Kobani is showing us.
I have literally 20 seconds, 10 seconds each. President Obama today authorized up to 1,500 more troops. This sounds like, smells like, looks like mission creep, is it not?
Well, it's doubling the number of advisors. They're not going to have a combat role, but how long before we're spending $60 billion next year in Iraq without a coherent strategy?
Mission creep.
Absolutely. Obama is realizing you can make empty promises on the campaign trail to pull the troops out. That naivete doesn't work.
I'll leave it right there. Ladies, thank you very much. And a quick reminder,